Good morning and welcome to the NBA Daily for January 8th, 2026, presented by Amazon Prime. I'm Dave DuFour here with Es Baraheni. Coming up, Trae Young traded to the Wizards. We got Josh Robbins on to talk about it. Bunch of crazy games last night. We're going to go through them. And Brian Geisinger is here to talk about the Hornets and their development this season. Good morning and welcome to the show, guys. We've got some breaking news at the top. Josh Robbins is here to talk about it. Trae Young traded to the Atlanta Hawks for CJ McCollum and Corey Kispert. It's kind of the deal we were talking about earlier today. Josh, lay out the specifics and how we got here.
Okay, very clean trade. Going to Atlanta, CJ McCollum, Corey Kispert. Going to Washington, Trae Young. That's the trade.
Yeah,
easy
That's
peasy.
the trade. How did they get here? Well, Trae Young did not agree to a long-term extension. Let's put it like this. The Hawks and Trae Young did not agree to a long-term extension during the offseason or in the past few months. The Washington Wizards lack a long-term solution at point guard. And while it's unclear whether this will work, this appears to be a very low-risk, relatively low-cost move from the Wizards' standpoint. And from Atlanta's standpoint, a team that is built to contend now in the East, they get two very good wing scorers who should be able to help. And CJ's a combo guard, so he can handle the basketball quite deftly. And so I think in the short term, this should work for both teams. And I will be interested to see how much Trae Young plays the remainder of the season for Washington. That seems to me TBD. And so that's something for all of us here on this podcast and the fans listening at home to monitor.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at all that there were no picks going, in either direction?
I never expected any. I never expected the picks that any picks that the Wizards sent to Atlanta to exceed in value anything Atlanta sent to the Wizards. Now, 24 hours ago, 12 hours ago, I would have thought Atlanta would have sent draft capital Washington's way in order to accept the salary for next year. It's a $49 million player option.
Yeah.
But I was proven wrong. But there was so much speculation in so many corners of the internet, social media, TV, that the Wizards would be sending the Hawks picks. That part, I never thought that was going to happen, unless maybe the Wizards sending a second round pick and then getting a first round pick. So on that one, I'm not surprised. A lot of other things in basketball surprised me. Not this one, though.
Josh, do you see this as a trial run for Trae Young, or is there, momentum or acceptance of the fact that this could be a long-term thing, extension-wise?
Well, as our colleagues and I wrote, our colleagues being David Aldridge, Sam Amick, and me, right now it looks like it's going to be a trial run. If we assume that Trae Young plays again this season, they'll have the rest of the season for both sides to evaluate, particularly the Wizards to evaluate. And if he doesn't play this season, it can go into next year, evaluate the fit with the young players on the Wizards and Trae Young, see how that goes. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic because Trae Young is a ball-dominant point guard. And after the Wizards have moved off of Jordan Poole, it's been a motion offense where everyone's passing the ball at a super fast pace. And that's what the Wizards are going to have to evaluate. And let's just say they don't come to any sort of long-term agreement. And we assume that Trae Young invokes his $49 million player option for next year. Well, then the Wizards will have a decision to make at the 2027 trade deadline or free agency in 2027.
Yeah. And
yes,
with the trade,
trial, it is essentially a trial run.
Right. And with the trade, they also get his bird rights. So if it wind up working out, an extension down the line or whatever, they have that tool in their pocket. I mean, the fit to me does make sense if you believe in a higher ceiling for the Wizards defense next season. The tenability of having Trae Young at the point of attack on your defensive end, I think could set this team back, like when you're talking about development. But on the offensive end, there is a very strong argument for having someone that talented that can organize your offense, that can run pick and roll with Alex Sarr, that you can't help but see the hopeful, optimistic view where maybe he can be a rising tide to elevate some of these guys. I see it.
Said perfectly.
Yeah.
Said perfectly. He has so much gravity with the ball in his hands, also from distance beyond the arc, that should open up driving lanes for explosive players such as Bilal Coulibaly. It should open up open shots for Trey Johnson, Keyshawn George, Bub Carrington, all of whom are approximately 40% and up three-point shooters. In Johnson's case, that's potential. He'll likely get there. So they should feast on the gravity that he creates. Same with Alex Sarr on the perimeter. And as you said, in the pick and roll, if Trae Young can make Clint Capella one of the league's top lob threats, then he should help elevate Alex Sarr to be one of the league's top lob threats.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I mean, I guess if the growth that we've seen out of Sarr this year, one way to see if there's more to that is to add a guy like Trae Young. I agree with it completely. Josh Robbins, guys, go and read him over at The Athletic. I mean, he's on the Wizards. He's on the Magic. He's on everything. He's got us covered here with the breaking news. Stick around. We're going to talk about some of the games from last night. You know, as something I didn't think of there while we were talking to Josh about the Trae Young trade, the Hawks and the Wizards, they were playing. Yeah. And the Wizards were in Philly. Yes. And it made me think about Hot Fuzz, okay? But imagine CJ McCollum as like Nicholas Angel, who was too good for his job. So they sent him out to the country, okay? CJ McCollum overqualified. Like, he's been too good. Hey, man, winning too many games. We'll send you to the country, down to Atlanta. I was thinking about Steve Coogan.
Well, then you're packed already.
Nick Nurse, after the game with the Sixers, you sent me this, at least the quote itself. He said, it was they asked him about the Trae Young trade. He said, was it for Corey Kispert and CJ McCollum? And they were like, how'd you know? He's like, they said they were sick and they didn't look very sick.
They did not look sick.
Very funny.
Yeah, they did not look sick at all. It's kind of funny because I think there's a lot of conversation about, Trae and what happens with the Hawks moving forward. They got some flexibility to maybe go out and make some other trades. But looking at it from the Wizards' perspective, there's a pretty crazy trade tree happening here all the way back to when they first moved Bradley Beal. So they basically went from Bradley Beal to Chris Paul, to Jordan Poole, to CJ McCollum, and to now Trae Young. And through that process, they got 4 years of pick swaps. They got 6 second-round picks, and they saved $16 million over the next 2 years. I think that is unreal organization from the Wizards,
That's
who, by the way,
good.
like over that span, compiled a bunch of draft picks, drafted this really interesting young core who I think both of us are at the very least intrigued
very
by.
excited about. Yeah.
So it's just good organizational building.
And Bradley
for the
Beal
Wizards.
might have been the worst contract in the league at the time that they traded.
Had a no trade clause.
So tip of the cap, good front office work. We don't have to do that very often around here.
By the way, the front office of the Wizards, former front office member for the Oklahoma City.
Yeah, everybody's been everywhere though, so it's not that interesting.
I know.
Hey, you know what? This show is packed. We do a deep dive after the break on the Hornets a little bit with Brian Geisinger, who hosts the Buzzbeat podcast. It was a lot of fun, and we figured, hey, they just beat the Thunder. When are they ever going to be riding that high? Well, we'll get to them at the end of this segment here. But there were some awesome games, not just the Trae Young trade. And I want to start with these zombie Nuggets, although a little less zombie because everybody was playing who was healthy. Jamal Murray, man, he's just been unreal this season. He leads the Nuggets to a big win on the road against the Boston Celtics, who we've talked about kind of, very high on. But Jamal Murray, kind of a crazy game for him when you think about the fact that we see him playing off of Jokic and Jokic being the primary playmaker. We maybe forget a little bit that Jamal Murray is more of a traditional point guard than we give him credit for. You know, he plays with Jokic, but when Jokic isn't out there, he has a high assist amount, right? 17 assists in the game, 22 points, 8 rebounds for Jamal Murray. And look, we've been saying that this is an all-star season for him. I think that if you just wanted to take one game and make that case, you say, hey, look at this game where they go into Boston with no Jokic and look at what he did.
Yeah, I love the way he's using the attention that defenses are sending him, right? Because when the Nuggets are running pick and rolls, a lot of times defenses are trapping, blitzing. They are sending two to the ball because they know they want to get the ball out of Jamal Murray's hands. And you know what Murray is doing? He's saying, I will oblige you and make this pass. And credit to the Nuggets supporting cast. Guys like Peyton Watson are knocking down their shots. Just in general, everybody on that team is able to knock down their shots. Like the depth of this group between the Bruce Browns and Tim Hardaway Juniors.
I feel like we got to give Calvin Booth these last 2 wins.
Sure.
You know, when you look at
just
this team,
shouting
right?
out front offices, why not?
Listen, this is we've talked about the fact that for years they didn't have anybody, but it turns out they did. They had young guys that just, you know, the development plan wasn't in place. And, you know, I'm glad you brought up Peyton Watson, because the thing that was missing for him was the shooting. You know, he's up to like 37% from 3 this season. He had a big game, 6 of 7 from 3. To me, it's how confident and how willing of a shooter he has turned himself into, which is the most important thing when you're playing off of Jokic and Murray. You cannot take a pass and be open and not shoot because the floor shrinks when that happens. You know, Andre Robertson used to be a killer for OKC because you don't have to guard that guy. It means I can put my center on him. My center can hang back and be help. It just shrinks the floor when guys will not shoot. The makes are important down the line, but like the bigger thing to me, and he is making them this season, but the bigger thing to me, I love seeing 7 attempts out of him. And you see it way more often this season. I think he's up to about a little over 3 attempts a game. I'd love to see him around 5 because I do think like the shooting looks pretty real. The form looks real. And the confidence is obviously palpable.
This is a guy that the Nuggets have to re-sign this summer. They have to. No question in my mind now. Over the last, not including this game, the first 4 games without Jokic, he was averaging 23 points, 5 rebounds, 2 stocks. And look, it's all a very small sample size, but it's clear that he has more in his game offensively that he can tap into. And so naturally, I kind of want to see him explore that more often over the time that Jokic is out here. Also, it's worth mentioning that the Nuggets in general, without some of their main guys, no Cam Johnson, obviously, no Nikola Jokic, Christian Brown and Aaron Gordon are back for them. But overall, when they lean into their depth more, they actually have good defenders out there. So Zeke Naji is playing well for them right now as sort of this backup guy. Jalen Pickett can guard for them at the point of attack. We just talked about Peyton Watson and what he can provide. They held the Celtics, who are the number 1 offense in the league right now, to 34% in that fourth quarter. They shut them down. And I think that was really, really telling of like, hey, what's the identity of this Nuggets team without Jokic? How are they going to churn out wins even though they don't have their MVP candidate, Yeah,
this is the way. And it's not like these guys can't score without Jokic. I mean,
absolutely.
Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon both have 50-point games. I mean, it's pretty easy. Okay, so we also, last night, we had 3 games that featured
crazy. It was a great night in the NBA. It
really was a wild, fun night of basketball. Would-be game winners that were thwarted by buzzer beaters. We're going to start with the Thunder and the Utah Jazz. And I was ready to make so many jokes in the group chat for Andrew. Andrew Schlecht, our producer, he's on vacation this week. And, I was just ready for them to lose to the Utah Jazz for their 3rd straight loss. But they snatched a win out of the jaws of defeat. Lauri Markkanen makes a great play with a couple, 3 seconds left or whatever.
Offensive rebound, reverse layup, dying seconds of the game.
Put back, excellent play to take the lead for Utah. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets to the mid-range and he even double pumps and ties the game up, sends it to overtime.
He rolls his ankle In the shot, he actually rolls his ankle and still able to, knock down the shot, send the game into overtime. And of course, in overtime, they took care of business. But SGA,
you can't get to the overtime with the Thunder.
46 points for SGA, pretty easy.
Yeah.
But they needed all 46, truthfully, to beat the Jazz tonight. So
absolutely.
OKC grinding.
And Orlando, look, again, we were ready. We were going to slander the Orlando Magic.
This game was absurd.
Nearly lost to the Wizards and Nets on back-to-back nights, but okay, they pull out a win. Paolo Banchero hits the bank shot, buzzer beater, game winner. Just ridiculous shot. And right before that, listen, let's not forget
Yegor Doman.
Yegor Doman hits a bank shot.
It was
be
double
game winner
bank
of his
shot.
own.
It was insane.
It was absurd. And Yegor, by the way, who we haven't talked about a lot on the show this year. Brooklyn just hasn't gotten a lot of attention from us. Had a great game. 5 of 8 from 3, 18 points. The way this guy plays, like the confidence that he plays with
a lot of swag.
I can understand why this team was very into him.
Yeah, no, he was awesome. The shot making from him was really cool. Again, he plays with a lot of swag. So when those shots are going in, you can see his confidence kind of scale up too. That bank shot was awesome. I really kind of wanted that moment for him, even though Paolo hit the game winner, and that was crazy in its own way. But Joman, I think, has been putting together some good performances. And it starts with the shooting. Like the dude can shoot the lights out.
And he has 30-foot range. Like he can just pull.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So if you got to guard a guy that far out, and by the way, I don't want to skip over Paolo, 30-point game.
Absolutely.
The Magic struggled in this game. Obviously, they only put up 104 points. I think they're going to struggle while Jalen Suggs is out. But it was good to see Paolo down the stretch. Like, I mean, that shot in particular, okay, you banked it in.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Still, it was a good look, and he makes the shot.
He had missed a game-winning opportunity against the Raptors a couple weeks ago, so now he's kind of redeemed himself. Yeah.
Speaking of the Raptors,
there you go. Your segue. I got you, man.
Yeah. So LaMelo Ball hits what would have been a game-winning floater with 1.8 seconds left.
That's correct.
And then Emmanuel quickly wins the game for the Raptors, totally ruining our segment after the break where we were discussing how great the Hornets have been.
Yeah, no, it was a gruesome game, terrible offensive game. I mean, before that clutch shot that Emmanuel quickly hit, he was 2 of 10 from 3. So that was something that he absolutely needed to go down. Look, it was a pretty great shot. What was your favorite game winner from tonight?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Paolo.
I'm biased.
I'm gonna go Paolo.
Paolo. Paolo shot is pretty crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
It was a bank shot, right? Like there's something, I don't know. There's something about the bank that just makes it a little bit extra. I don't know.
Have you seen the Emmanuel quickly celebration?
I have not. No.
The call 5? No. It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
I've seen him do it. I didn't know that's what he was doing.
He was doing.
I watch a lot of Raptors games on mute. I won't lie. It was just kind of, it's about what time it's on, and usually it's up head to head with the game. I need to
You're
hear.
West Coast team.
It's a little bit different out here. Hey, speaking of the Hornets, look, we're very high on the Hornets. Even though this was a loss, I mean, they were right in this game. Again, like thought LaMelo hit a game winner, which would have set us up so perfectly. After the break, we talked to Brian Geisinger about the Hornets because frankly, like some of these teams, like we're just not going to get a lot of opportunities and hot on the heels of that big win against the Thunder. Felt like it was time to give this team a little bit of shine. We've hit Kon Knueppel, but I feel like there's a lot of guys that we haven't hit. Yeah. And Brian is very good at covering the Hornets. So I don't know
we just
how many
talked
Hornets
about
fans we have listening, but go and check out his stuff on the Hornets too.
Absolutely. No, we just talked about how the Wizards are building. I mean, the Hornets are doing something very similar there.
Right.
And he breaks it down in great detail. It was a lot of fun.
Anyway, stick around after the break. Brian will be talking about the Hornets. The Charlotte Hornets are a little bit of a surprise this season. They've been better than expected in a development year, had a pretty good draft. And then they had a huge win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. So that's why we're talking about them. Here to talk about them with us, our guy, Brian Geisinger. He hosts the Buzzbeat podcast that covers the Charlotte Hornets. You guys do a pretty good job over there. Have fun covering what has been a bad team. I imagine that this season's been way more fun than previous years.
It's been, even the last month has been more fun. And yes, I'm glad to get, the Hornets could get Oklahoma City on the second night of a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 days. And that's why you guys were knocking on my door. But good to be here. And yes, we've been doing this podcast since 2016, the Busby podcast, and the Hornets have played in a total of 0 playoff games since then. So
wow,
your time's coming, man. It's coming.
I don't think it's changing this year, but it's we're on a cold streak here.
Okay, all right, but this team is not that far off from the play-in, and I should say, I'll note that we're recording this before they play the Raptors. So when you look at the standings, they're only 3 games behind the Hawks for the play-in, and it's not like the Hawks have been setting the world on fire. Obviously, the Hawks are in a lot of trade talks right now, but this has been, this is a turnaround of a season regardless. I mean, and I know we're saying this about a team that currently has 13 wins. It's not like they're setting the world on fire, but a play-in berth would be a step in the right direction for a franchise that's kind of been floundering. So, what has this season been like, in your opinion, from a development standpoint?
It's been significant. I mean, it certainly starts with Kon Knueppel, who's been, 1A, 1B, or maybe the second best, or certainly at the least like a top 3 rookie in the NBA this season.
Absolutely.
On pace to set the record for threes made by a rookie. But he's done more, obviously, than just shoot the ball. He's created offense. He's been a connector. He's really important for them as a screener in a variety of their sort of like guard or drag screen actions. So for him to be like this good was significant, because it looks like the 2025 draft is going to be, a really good one. Yeah. And to have a top 4 pick in it and to like hit on it is significant. And then just from that, like this stretch recently with LaMelo Ball healthy and playing well, Brandon Miller healthy and playing well after he missed, played the first 2 games of the season, got hurt in Philadelphia, then missed the next month or so. So for those 2 guys to be back at the same time, it is significant. And I think there have been other like good development pieces, like some of the other rookies, Sion James, Ryan Kalkbrenner, the 2 second-round picks, I think have played well. They've been spot starters for the Hornets. Tijan Salon has started to sort of like come along a little bit more. Yeah,
he's starting to figure it out. Yeah.
So for a lot of like the age, like under 25 guys on this roster to be sort of like on the, on a positive development arc at the moment, healthy at the moment, is really encouraging for a team that's finally, for the first time under the new ownership group, taking a more like patient approach towards trying to like rebuild something more sustainable in a smaller market.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the fact that Kon has been such a great facilitator of offense for you guys, because he's a bit of a conduit, right? He can, like you said, be the screener in guard screening actions. He can connect stuff together. He's obviously an incredible shooter. The lineups with him, LaMelo, and Brandon Miller are just destroying teams offensively. They score at an incredible rate. We've only seen it for about 200-ish minutes. Do you feel like, what is the ceiling of Kon Knueppel as a player now that you've got the chance to watch him for like 41 games ish? What is the ceiling of Kon?
Yeah, 231 minutes with Miller, LaMelo, and Kon on the court. The Hornets, 129 points per 100 possessions, 42% on threes, 59% on twos. So they've been quite good offensively in a relatively small sample with those guys. But look, I live in Raleigh. I cover college hoops. I cover the draft. So I was at the majority of Kon's games at Duke last season. And he kind of blew me away as a prospect. And to me, Kon is someone who I think a lot of he's sort of like a false ceiling player. That term's been thrown around, and I think it's pretty accurate for him. People see him and they know he's a good shooter, and they sort of like typecast him into that. Yeah. But heading into the draft, he was sort of one of the, like, he's already 20, he's sort of like an older for a rookie prospect. I think a lot of people thought, if the Hornets are trying to like win right away, this is a guy you bring him in, he can, you can plug and play and put him next to Brandon and LaMelo. And like, that's true because he is super malleable and he can play without the ball, and he can be a connector. He can screen, but he clearly has more upside with the ball in his hands. He can organize pick and roll. Like, there are some real limitations. He can struggle against length. Yeah. He doesn't have an elite handle, but I think his handle has gotten better. since he got to the pros, since leaving Duke, and his ability to play off the shot, to use the shot fake. I don't think Kon projects as like a top, 15 guy in the league, or a guy that's, sort of like leading in offense as like a heliocentric type guard or anything like that. But I think he can be a really good, number two style option. Maybe that's even selling him a little bit short, but that's kind of where I feel like a little bit more confident, sort of given some of his limitations that he has athletically. Yeah. But at this point, he's been phenomenal this season, and truly an important bright spot for the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, Cooper Flagg has come on, but Kon Knueppel was the front runner for Rookie of the Year for a good chunk of the season. I mean, I think, now that Cooper Flagg has had some of these just massive performances, I think it's a much closer race. But looking ahead for this team, I mean, what's the future of the Hornets? Because there's been a lot of buzz about LaMelo Ball and, whether it makes sense for him to be the centerpiece there in Charlotte, or whether it makes sense for them to move on. Obviously, Brandon Miller, I think Kon Knueppel has opened up a lot of questions about the team and where they're heading in the future. Where do you see, what do you see them doing, like, as we're approaching the deadline and this offseason? LaMelo, and I don't think they're going to move Brandon Miller, but LaMelo is a real question.
So I don't see them being buyers. Like, they've been sellers at the last couple of deadlines, so basically since Jeff Peterson took over, and that's been important for them. I mean, they actually, for the first time of me covering this roster, they have like future draft picks. You know what I mean? Like, and including, like, they've got the likely the Phoenix pick along with their own pick this year. So like, I don't see them being sellers or trying to like add you trade for Nick Claxton or get a center or something like that to sort of like solidify that position and make a push. If anything, I think they're sort of more likely to just like not trade anyone and ride it out and just sort of see where it goes. And if they make the play-ins, great, so be it. I do feel like they would love to have another top 4 or 5 pick on the roster heading into the season. I wanted them to be in the Boozer, Debansa, Peterson sweepstakes. And look, that
really changes the future, right? If they end up somehow in the top 3 with these flattened lottery odds, you get a situation where you have this trio plus one of those blue chip prospects on top of it, right?
Absolutely. And I just to answer your LaMelo question, like, I've been in the patience camp with him for several years now, because I know trade chatter has intensified with him, maybe a month into the season this year, but it's been on the back burner, sort of like simmering for a while now. I mean, he's been pretty banged up with injuries basically since his second year in the league. To me, there was never a better show in town, so there was no need to try to like sell, to like move off of him. Yeah. It's a little different now because they could sort of like really do like a deeper tank and sort of try to build around Kon and Brandon Miller. But when those 3 guys play together and you have these 3 tall shooters that can handle and really pass, it sort of shows you potentially a portal into something else. I just worry long term about the health of LaMelo. Like, that's the thing that sort of like concerns me the most. The ankle injuries seem chronic, and look, maybe this offseason is a time to try to sell high on him, but I think they're going to be really reluctant to do it when these 3 guys are healthy and playing together. So my guess is that they're just going to try to keep it rolling. But it's just tough because it's like, a couple of weeks from now, who knows if one of these guys, if LaMelo gets hurt again, and then all of a sudden the calculus changes, and then what does that do for his trade value too? So it's a tricky needle to thread.
Yeah, and also let's not forget Colin Sexton sitting there. That somebody might want him.
Honestly, a pretty interesting trade candidate, right? Yeah.
There's chatter that Minnesota had done. I think Jake Fisher reported that Minnesota had done due diligence on him. Expiring contract. I mean, when healthy, he's played well this season. I could see maybe Josh Green, who shot well on corner threes since he came back. Bridges is probably a tough guy to move, but those are maybe guys they could potentially flip. But it's hard to see an obvious deal with one of those guys. So I could also see them just riding it out and just seeing where it goes. And who knows, maybe they would continue to try to push for a play-in spot, or maybe come March, they might get a little intentional with how they set the lineup.
Yeah.
I like the way you phrase that.
The most important question I'm going to ask, because we don't get a lot of Raleigh guys on the show. Bojangles or Cookout?
Depends on the time of the day. You can do both.
But people don't compare them. But which one?
I have no
I would
idea.
take Cookout.
I'm only
I'll
eating
take
one when I
Cookout.
visit.
Definitely Cookout. It is. I mean, Bojangles is great. It's a
Hating
great
on the Bowberry biscuit is what I heard.
It's a great North Carolina company. We love it. But no, give me Cookout. I just have a lot of like positive, like late night, memories and associations with Cookout. The Cookout parking lot is sort of like a mythical place. If you're like a high schooler in the state of North Carolina where I grew up, that's like where you hang out after hours,
You guys are opening a world for me that I had no idea about. I know Bojangles, obviously. Bojangles I've heard about, but Cookout I have not heard. So
look, you need to ask RJ and Brandon Ingram. So you get their take. I'm guessing when they were doing their stops in Durham, they hit Cookout at some point. Would be my bet.
I guarantee it.
Okay.
All right. Brian, thank you so much. Guys, Brian Geisinger, go and check him out, not only on the Buzzbeat pod, but he does draft work too. And as you can hear, he knows hoops. So go and check him out. We'll get him back on the show, maybe for some draft stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for hanging out with us. Thanks to Es Baraheni. I'm Dave DuFour. This has been the NBA Daily. Thanks for listening.